Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to wherever you all are. A very, very warm welcome to each and every one of you for joining us today. And today's topic is New Frontiers in Self-Healing, a Quantum Perspective. And we have a very special speaker with us today. And I still remember, like it was yesterday, the entire world was gripped by this unknown virus, right? And our brother Shwetang proposed a workshop, Death, Dying, and Moving On. At first, when he proposed it, we were all thinking, really? But this paved the way for many to grieve their loved ones. And it also came to terms with what life is all about. And then to also appreciate it even more. And most importantly, it removed the fear of death. And now he's here with us again to take us through the next phase, which is healing. And after that traumatic phase, which we just closed, hopefully this next thing is what is needed for all of us, right? That healing. And it's the healing of the body as well as the soul. And so without taking much time, we welcome him. And to just give you a little intro, he is a cardiac anesthesiologist. I always mess up that word. Who's been practicing Raja Yoga meditation, which is taught by the Brahma Kumaris for the past 21 years. And he's passionately experimented with the principles and methods of Raja Yoga in order to achieve this higher level of clarity. And so this is the next thing that he was actually working on, is healing from the inside out. And so when he talks about what he wants to share, we go for it because he's already experimented it, he's working on it. So we know that when he's sharing, it's coming out from his heart. And so we're very happy to have him. He's a very sweet, very humble soul. And so we're very fortunate to have him. And so a very warm welcome to you, Shwetang Bhai, to Cinnaminson, and please take it away.
Om Shanti. Yes, it is an honor for me to be here today with such a lovely family, our Cinnaminson family. And as soon as I came to know that I have this opportunity to come here and visit this beautiful place, I felt super happy. And then I was told that I'm supposed to give a talk. And usually I nowadays don't like to give too many talks because I want to really practice what I speak, to really experiment with all that I have been speaking for the past few years. And so today I'll be sharing with a lot of humility, because on one hand, there is a lot to learn. The sky is the limit. We can experiment more and more with all of these concepts that I have understood to some extent, but I feel that there is a lot more to understand for myself. But at the same time, there is a certain degree of authority, because I have seen how much these concepts have helped me in my own personal healing, healing not just of the body, but of the mind, of relationships, of the soul. When we talk about healing or health in medicine, we all know that it's not just the physical health that we need to have a good one, a good physical health, but it is also the mental, also the social, as well as the spiritual health that we are all working on. So, what I have realized is that there is a lot to learn from physics. I know on one hand, medicine and physics seem to be two different directions, but not really in a way now. Even in modern medicine, we use so much of information technology, we use so much of computers, we use so much of engineering. Biomedical is a whole field in medicine where they bring mathematics and physics and other aspects of science into medicine. And so I think when we're talking about a holistic healing, it's important that we look, or at least not ignore, physics for understanding some of these deep, deep things which can truly heal us from within. So, um, quantum healing. Shall I speak up? All right, I will. So, yes, I think because I forgot that, yeah, I should speak up. So, anyways, quantum healing is something that I found very intriguing, this concept, and I have tried to understand it more, like I said. But what is quantum is something that we need to understand. Now, quantum comes from this whole field of quantum physics, right? Quantum healing from quantum physics. Quantum physics is a relatively modern branch of physics. For a long time, physics was dominated by what we call as classical physics, yeah, or the Newtonian physics, yeah, Newtonian physics. And then we realized that there were some proponents of quantum physics like Max Planck and Niels Bohr and several of these. They came up with this concept which even Einstein at that time found it difficult to wrap his head around. But what really quantum means is that energy exists in discrete packets. Yeah, energy exists in discrete packets. So the smallest element of, say, electricity could be electron. Um, the the smallest unit of light would be called as photon. Now, similarly, what would be the smallest unit of consciousness? Yeah. See, the thing is that for understanding healing, we need to understand the close connection between the mind and the body, between consciousness and matter. For a long time, we always thought that the body is separate and body needs certain medicines, maybe certain procedures to fix it. But it all starts from the mind. If the mind is not healthy, the body cannot be healthy. We have known it all along now, the past a century or whatever. So, what would be the smallest unit of the mind or smallest unit of consciousness? We thought, right? So, if we want to be healthy, and again, it's not just the physical health, but even mental health, even emotional health, even social health, even spiritual health, we have to fix the smallest unit of the consciousness, that is thought. If we can change the pattern of our thinking, if we can shift the way we think from negative to positive, then we can create healing within ourselves. Now, we have realized this in numerous scientific experiments that our thoughts change our chemistry. our biology, and therefore through these also changes our immunology, our neurology, our endocrinology, and even our genetic expression. Which genes get turned on, which genes get turned off, and how we then are able to maintain a homeostasis within ourselves, and the way we interact with the physical environment around us. All this depends on our thoughts. So if we can change our thoughts, we can change our biology, our chemistry, in fact, even our anatomy, and therefore our entire life. But how do we do this? It's easier said than done. So the answer, I feel, comes from quantum physics in a way that not just changing the thought, but changing our whole state. That is, in a way, going into a quantum state, a quantum field, quantum consciousness. So, in today's session, I'll try to explain some of the laws of quantum state, of quantum consciousness, just to help us understand or make this whole aspect of self healing a more tangible one, something more practical. Is they're saying that there is an echo. Is there any way it can be turned off? They're saying there's some sort of an echo. Somebody has texted, just to let you know. All right. I'm sure Brother Sweet will fix it in a moment. But so what we need to understand is that all the matter that we are seeing around us, all objects that we're seeing, say it's a chair, it's a table, this laptop, this body, it is made up of different parts, right? This laptop has different parts, right? A screen, a keyboard. This table has a top, and then it has legs, etc., right? But if you go into the deeper parts of each of this object, you find that each object is made up of molecules. Now, so in other words, this table is made up of innumerable molecules of wood. And when you break it down even further, then these molecules are made up of atoms. So each molecule is made up of innumerable atoms. Then the atom can be even further divided into subatomic particles. Now, what they found, these scientists, when they were trying to study the nature of matter, that the distance between two molecules is ginormous as compared to the space that each molecule occupies. It's very interesting. So, say the molecules occupy this much space, and if you blow it up, if you go and look at it through a very powerful microscope, the space between the two molecules is huge as compared to the space that the molecules occupy. Similarly, if you go inside the molecules and you look at these atoms, though there are innumerable atoms, the space between these atoms is ginormous again as compared to the space that the atoms occupy. And then you go into the subatomic particles, again, the electrons, protons, neutrons, they occupy a very tiny space as compared to the space between the subatomic particles. So what they did is through some theoretical mathematical equations, they found that, or they collected all of the space, again hypothetically, collected all of the space that any object would have versus the space all of matter, the particles, would occupy. And they found that these particles collectively occupy a very tiny space, like 0.0000, many zeros, 1%. And therefore the space between these particles is 99.999, many nines, percent. So in other words, any object that you see, anything that you see, although you can touch it, you can feel it, when it flies through the air and hits you on the head, it does hurt you, but it is really 99.9999 and many more nines percent just space. Isn't that interesting? It's just space. What they found further was, if you just take these particles, the tiny particles, they too would come in and out of existence. That they would be there for a moment, and they would not be there for a moment. So in other words, really speaking, at any given moment, it is very possible that what you're seeing here doesn't even exist. How does that sound? All that you're seeing around you, in a way, doesn't even exist. So what they found was that at the subatomic level, at the tiniest micro level, they found that all of matter really exists as energy. And we know from Einstein's equation E is equal to mc squared, if you spin matter fast enough, then it truly turns into energy. So really speaking, all of matter around us is really energy. All of our existence too, therefore. Similarly, if you want to compare your body with all of matter, like table, the example that I gave, so body is made up of, say, different parts, right? Arms, legs, then there would be different organs, internal organs, then there's tissue, then there's cells, then there are molecules, then there are atoms, then subatomic particles. So again, in this body, which seems very solid, is 99.9999999% is just space. And even that 0.0000001% or whatever is also in and out of existence. It's just energy. You see? So now you look at it this way, that all of matter, at the core of all matter, including your body, there is no matter. Yeah, see? That is just energy. Isn't that interesting? So at the core of your existence, there's nothing but energy. And what we have to do is to now try to see ourselves in that state. But I'll come to that in a moment. But now, this energy that we're talking about is a common field of energy, the quantum field. It's not discrete energy for this versus this versus this. In a way, you can look at it as a giant wheel, where all of the objects that you see, including your body and other people's bodies, at the rim of the wheel, all right? And at the core of the wheel, there is no matter. This is energy. This common field that connects all of matter. Make sense? You see, the reason why I'm trying to get you all to understand this quantum field is because this quantum field is pure energy. Now, energy, as we know, I'm sure you've heard it over and over again, that it cannot be created, cannot be destroyed. In a way, it helps us understand that energy is constant, it is infinite, it is unlimited, because all of the universe, in a way now, from quantum physics point of view, is filled with energy. So the more I am in my physical consciousness, if you will, that I am seeing things as matter, as objects, the more limited I am. Because you see, if I see myself as body, my existence ends right where my skin ends, right? So I'm nothing more than just this body, right? If I look at myself from this matter point of view. Whereas if I see myself as I, in a way, going to the center of the wheel, and see myself as energy, now I'm connected to this infinite field of pure energy. I am connected to every other object and every other human being on this planet through this infinite common field of energy. See, suddenly you have access to the most profound source of energy. And this center core, if you see like a wheel of a car, what part of the wheel is connected to the engine? It's not the rim, right? It's the center. So as soon as you bring your consciousness to the center of the wheel, you then get connected to the energy of the universe. Infinite energy. You see? Unlimited consciousness comes. See, also what happens is, in the physical existence that we are seeing, all the objects that we are seeing around us, everything is changing. The physical world, the classic Newtonian physical world, follows the law of change and follows the law of thermodynamics, which means that everything has to change, everything has to go for the worse. This is called as the law of entropy. And that's why we have stress, we have fear. You see? Because everything is changing. And also there is limitedness. Because like I said, I can be only as much as this. Or other practical examples would be, you can only run so fast. You can only jump so high. You can only eat so much. Or you could only amass so much. And so all of these things create stress. But as soon as you go to the core of the wheel, into that quantum field of pure energy, there is no change. And there is infinity. There's unlimited experience there. All of which creates a sense of wholesomeness, a sense of abundance. And that's what the mind, if we are able to stay in that experience, the mind perceives this as a happy state. Yeah, it's interesting that today is actually the UN Day of Happiness. Yeah, but think of it, how can we be happy if we are not healthy, right? So if we are deep inside ourselves, if we are happy, then we can be healthy too. If we are, think of it, this is very interesting. If we are not healthy, we can't be happy. But if we are not happy, we cannot be healthy. Why? Think of it. And again, going back to the medical point of view, you see, what happens is when we see something scary, you open the door in the morning and you see a mountain lion or something, or a big snake, a rattlesnake on your porch. What will happen? Right away, the instincts kick in because you want to protect yourself. So there is this intense stress hormones or intense stress response that gets created within you. This enables you to fight or fly, run away. You would never have run so fast as when you see a real danger in front of you. Or you would never be able to fight with that much of power as when there is real kind of danger in front of you. So these are primal instincts, and these were okay for a time when we were living in the cave, etc. Where we needed to have that kind of instincts because there was always danger lurking around the corner. However, in modern times, there are no dangers of that kind, really. Nobody is out to kill us every moment. Yet, because we have habituated ourselves to that state, we are constantly creating that stress within ourselves. And that stress is what creates that intense chemical reaction or chemical secretion within our body of adrenaline and noradrenaline and cortisol and all of these peptides. And these create a soup, an acidic soup for the body, which then causes the body to disintegrate. You see? So think of it, these negative chemicals destroying the body because of stress. Then how can we create happy chemicals in our mind so that we can let the body heal? It's as simple as that. So when we go into that quantum consciousness, we go into that quantum state of pure consciousness, that I am not matter, that I am not this body, at least I'm not just this body, I'm more than this body. In a way, think of it, again, going back to that, the body is made up of so many different things. So in a way, you're a bag of bones, you're a bag of different internal organs, you're a bag of tissues, you're a bag of cells, you're a bag of molecules, you're a bag of atoms. But in a way, you're merely a bag of energy. How does that sound? You're really a bag of infinite energy. Let that sink in to your consciousness. You're a bag of infinite energy. And you are connected to all other energies, that in a way it is a whole field, a sea, an ocean of energy that you're connected to. You see? Now, going to quantum physics again, what the scientists found that at the quantum level, these atoms, these electrons, these protons, these neutrons behaved in a very strange way. They did a classic experiment called as a double slit experiment, in which they were trying to see how these particles behave. They were also trying to see how light behaves, because light, in a way, there was a big controversy whether light is a particle or a wave. And yes, normally we would think light as wave, right? But actually light exists as both light, particle and wave, just like everything else. So light that seems like wave exists as both particle and wave, and all of matter seems like matter or particle actually behaves both as particle and wave. So how when they were discharging one atom at a time, or one electron, one proton at a time, through these two slits, and there was a screen behind the slit where these atoms would go in through the slits and hit. So some atoms would pass through the slits and some won't, right? Some would bounce back because those slits are the open spaces. And so normally you would think, just like you're taking golf balls and throwing through two slits, and these golf balls maybe have pigment or whatever on them, so, and if there's a screen on the other side, what would show up? An image eventually would be created which would be similar to the two slits, right? Which is what they thought too. But what they found was that even these particles were behaving as waves. So say if you have water which would behave like wave, right? If water is sent through these two slits, it creates what is called as an interference pattern, because some of the water waves would break into smaller pieces, would go out through the slits, and then they would create interference with each other, the two waves, one wave coming out of one slit, the other through other slit, create an interference pattern, and so an interference pattern would be shown on the screen or be seen on the screen. So what they found is that these, although these were clear particles, they would show up as an interference pattern on the screen. So they said, let's look at how it is, what's happening. So they got a camera at the slit level just to see how this particle is behaving. Because in a way, it's as if this particle is breaking into two pieces, going through the two slits simultaneously, interfering with each other itself in a way, and creating an interference pattern. Or maybe many different particles that are going together, they're going through these slits and interfering with each other just like they would in a wave, and creating that interference pattern. And actually it was so amazing, it's so weird, it's so crazy. They found that as soon as they turned on the camera, these particles started behaving like particles. And so they saw two slits on the screen. As soon as they turned off the camera, the particles began to behave like waves. So in other words, the same thing exists as both particle and wave. And similarly, when they did the experiment with light, they thought that light would show up as an interference pattern because it's a wave. And when they had the camera on, it would behave as a particle, two slits. So very interesting, right? Nobody could understand what is going on. So what they have now come to understand with this is that all of matter behaves in the way you want it to behave. So in a way, when the camera is turned on, we are looking for something. You wouldn't want to look at wave. You can't look at wave. There's no way to look at a wave of energy. You can only look at a particle. So in a way, the particle felt the intention of the person observing and started behaving as a particle. And when there was no intention on the part of the observer to see it as a particle, that is when the camera was turned off, the particle turned into a wave. So what this tells us, which we had never understood from classical physics, was what we now call as an observer-observed effect. So, in other words, what is being observed depends on who is observing and with what intention. In other words, reality is not really reality. It's what you perceive it to be. Yeah. You see, in a way, there is perceived reality, there's actual reality. Probably some of you would know that every second our human minds are flooded with billions of bits of information from outside. See all of these things that I'm seeing around me, every plank here, these lights, this carpet, the wavy pattern on this, you all sitting, all of this information is coming. But there's also an enormous amount of information that's coming from within the body to the mind, to the brain, and then to the mind, to the consciousness. Because see, what happens is The body, in a way, needs to know where it is in time and space. The mind needs to know where the body is in time and space. So if you keep your hand like this, you know your hand is like this, even if your eyes are closed, right? You know it? Yeah? There is all a lot of information that is going from each joint in the body to the mind, to the brain, and then to the mind at all times. So, in other words, it is true that billions of bits of information is being received by you every moment, whether you know it or not. However, human mind has the ability to only decipher a small part of it. And what it is able to decipher, what it's able to take, becomes the reality for us. So, in other words, all of us could be looking at the same picture, the same scenery. Each one will take a small fragment of that information based on, again, a lot of different things, based on what you have seen in the past. So, say for example, you have seen lots of mountains, you have seen lots of valleys, you've seen lots of, say, greenery. So, if you like greenery, you will be more apt to look at greenery, so that the greenery part will be captured by you more, the mountain parts will be captured by you more, the valleys will be captured by you more. So each one is perceiving the reality differently. And because you're perceiving the reality differently, actually the interesting thing is the true reality also becomes what you perceive it to be, if that makes sense. You see, this is something which truly even Einstein, out of all the quantum physics concepts, even Einstein had a little difficulty in perceiving this or wrapping his head around this. Because he would argue that if I'm not looking at the moon, does the moon not exist? But even if it exists, it doesn't exist for you if you don't know what the moon is. I'll give you more examples, like the indigenous population of the Amazon forest. They don't care about Wall Street market crash, do they? They don't care about whether Volkswagen is recalling 1 million cars. For them, it doesn't matter. They don't care whether Russia is invading Ukraine or what NATO is doing, and they don't care. For them, life is to hunt and to dance and eat and go to sleep. Their perceived reality has become their actual reality. That's what they live by. Agreed? Yeah. I can go into innumerable examples of this. But if you go back to that example of the stress, in today's world, there is really no actual threat too much. Yeah, if you go into downtown in the middle of the night, walk on the streets, yes, there is threat. But on a regular basis, not much. But we are perceiving the threat constantly, and that perceived threat has become our actual threat. And we are creating these stress hormones within ourselves. We end up with ulcers in the stomach. We end up with high blood pressures and diabetes and heart attacks and strokes. So, yeah, agreed? So, our actual reality now is destroying us. It has truly become the reality for us to live. Now, my question is, why can't we change it to the opposite side? Why can't we change our perceived reality to be a happy one? So that that becomes our actual reality, and we become happy, and we constantly secrete happy chemicals within our body, and our blood pressure gets better, our heart disease gets better, and we get healed. See, now I'll go into a few examples. I think there are some questions coming. I promise I'll respond to those as well in a moment. But think of it, I'll give you some examples. If you know, in medicine, we call this as placebo and nocebo. These are two terms. For some of you, these are new. For some of you, you've probably heard these before. But nocebo is something that really has no chemical effect really on the body, but the body perceives it as harm and so responds in that way. Placebo is the opposite, that again it could be something as simple as a sugar pill or a saline injection, but the body perceives it to be some medicine, and so it accepts it as medicine and gets healed. So now think of nocebo. Let's go into this nocebo a little bit. So many times we hear of cancer patients who are going to get their chemotherapy. Even before they have received the chemotherapy, what do they feel? Stress, but also, very importantly, nausea and vomiting. There have been so many situations when the nurse forgot to put the chemotherapy medicine in the saline bottle, and the patient never got the chemotherapy medicine that day, yet had nausea and vomiting. There was a very famous story of a person who was diagnosed with some tumors on the liver. Liver tumors of primary sort are very rare. Most of the time it is spread of cancer from other parts of the body, and usually when it's seen in the liver, it's the last stages. Yeah, you know, right? Then it pretty much means that you tell the patient that you have few months to live. So there was this one patient who came in with these tumors, and the doctor said, oh, this looks like this, and so biopsy was done or whatever, and the diagnosis really was that yes, you have cancer from somewhere else. We don't know, but because he had a lot of acid reflux, he had a lot of heartburn, so they thought that it is stomach cancer that probably the patient has, and he was told, hey, you're going to live for 3 months, 6 months, whatever, and then you'll die. So it's 3 months, 6 months passed, whatever the doctor had told, and he died. So family decided to do an autopsy, and what did they find? He had no cancer. Just the thought of cancer killed him. So many times we come to know that somebody has been bitten by a snake. Do you know, most of the times, I'm sure in America, all of you know a lot about snakes here, in general, but most times snakes don't deliver a toxic venom. Most of the times, they don't deliver the whole dose. And so unless you are in the middle of nowhere and it's taken 24 hours, 48 hours for you to go to the hospital, or if that hospital doesn't have that anti-venom, which is rare in America, it will be, if it's not in that hospital, somewhere else it will be brought. But you don't die usually of snake venom. And in fact, you don't really die from a non-poisonous snake, right? So there's the story of this person who was told that, hey, you know what? You were bitten by a poisonous snake. Said, oh, darn. And this, there are 3 different classes of snakes, of poison snakes, and each one has their own signature side effects, because one type of snake venom affects the brain, the nervous system, the other one affects the blood system, so you have bleeding. So I don't know what the entire story was, but he started to exhibit the signs and symptoms of that snake poisoning or snake bite that he was told that that he was told that, oh, you were bitten by that snake, maybe cobra, so whatever it is. All right, so he started to show the signs and symptoms of a cobra snake bite. Then later somebody caught that snake and brought it to the emergency department, said it's a non-venomous snake. And right away he started feeling good and went home. You want to know another story? So there was once
वो वाला ये वाला जो बैग है मुझे राज आंटी को देना.
there was once a person who had a lot of depression, a young boy, and he had tried all the antidepressants that were available at that time. Then in the market, the new medicine, the venlafaxine, came. At that time, it was experimental, so they were doing research. So somehow he saw the news or whatever that they're recruiting patients. So he said, let me go, let me try this. My depression is not getting better with anything. Hopefully this medicine will fix it. So all right, he goes there. He's given this box of or bottle of pills, and he comes home. He starts to take these pills, and he starts feeling good. Now for those of you who are in research and medicine would know that nowadays it's impossible to do any meaningful research unless we account for the placebo effect. We call this as randomized controlled trials. So 50% of the patients will get the real medicine and 50% of people will not get the real medicine. They'll just get a look-alike, but it will be just an inert substance. So we don't know whether this boy got the real medicine or the inert substance. So the boy goes home and he starts taking his pills and he starts feeling good. He said, yay, finally I've got something that's working. And every time he would go to the nurse who would check him up and things like that, every few days he had to go for follow-up. And the nurse too felt, yeah, it's working. So yeah, great, because you have this depression questionnaire that you have to fill out, and in that questionnaire you come to know, or the doctor comes to know how depressed you are or how much progress you're making. So anyway, so one day he is feeling really good, so he calls his girlfriend, with whom he was not having a good relationship because of depression. Is not going to help in any ways. So he calls and they start arguing on the phone, and he gets super upset. He had a fragile mindset anyways. So he hangs up the phone, and in a fit of rage, he takes his bottle of pills and empties them out in his mouth. So 15, 20 of those pills. Right away, he feels bad. He feels remorse. He said, why did I do that? And so he runs out to his neighbor, he knocks on the door frantically, hey, this is the stupid thing that I've done, please help me. Then he's taken to the emergency department, his heart rate is through the roof, his blood pressure is down in the gutters. Yeah, and he's sweating profusely, almost like as if he'll die, and they don't know what medicine it is, and so they can't find the real antidote. So they call the people who were the researchers, right? And so the researchers would be able to tell what was the medicine. So in the middle of the night, the researcher looks up, he says, oh, this boy never got the medicine. He actually got the placebo. So no, it's not possible. Well, I've checked and double checked, he's got the placebo. So they go and tell the boy. So it's good news and bad news for him. So the good news, and so right away he feels good and he gets discharged. His blood pressure comes back to normal. His heart rate comes back to normal. And I don't know about his depression then. Probably it came back too. But you see how mind plays games. Now see, it's not just thought as the smallest unit of consciousness, but thought that becomes a belief, that becomes a conviction. Then this conviction becomes a reality. For this boy, for this man, for the person who was bitten by the snake, for these snake charmers who are handling these poisonous snakes all the time, get bitten by these snakes, by these people who are able to walk on fire or on coal, burning coal. Now, what is going on? Is there thoughts that have gotten condensed into true beliefs, into in a way convictions, and therefore the reality. So nothing touches them. The most poisonous snake's venom doesn't affect them. The 4,000, I don't know, 4,000, 3,000 degree Fahrenheit fire doesn't touch them. On the other hand, a non-cancerous tumor kills them. Isn't it interesting? So you understand how powerful mind is, how powerful each thought is. So if I can go to my quantum state of pure consciousness, of pure thought, of the state where I understand that I am energy, connected to the infinite energy of the universe. And I'm not limited by anything. In that state, I can experience true happiness. And in that state of true happiness, I can experience true health. Makes sense? I will take a pause right now because I can go on into this. Just one tiny thing I want to say, that in a way, in this quantum field, particle versus wave, matter versus energy. What state do I want to exist as? The more I exist as a particle, the more limited I will be. The more I exist as a particle or matter, the more limited I'll be. The more I exist as wave, the more unlimited I'll be. So when I say wave, in a way, what happens is, going back to quantum physics for a moment, let me go back to quantum physics. What they found was that the particle actually exists as a wave of infinite possibilities. It could be here, 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 wherever. It's infinite possibilities. So what that means is that if I can go into that state of infinite possibilities, on one hand, I could see myself as the sickest person on this planet. On the other hand, I can see myself as the healthiest person on the planet. Or really speaking, I do exist in the quantum field as the whole spectrum of the most diseased, the most unhealthy state on one hand, and the most healthy, most healed state at the same time. And infinite possibilities between the two. Making sense? Now, what I choose to be in the quantum field will actually bubble up to become my reality in this physical world. If it's making sense. Whatever reality I choose, whatever possibility, if you will, that I choose in the quantum field, if I choose myself to be 100% healthy, that reality will become my actual reality. And I will become 100% healthy, totally healed. If I see myself as totally unhealthy, that possibility will also become my true reality. And again, it's not magical thinking. It's not some, as soon, it's like, when they say, oh, don't think negative, demons are listening. It's not like that. There's no demon that's going to come and make me sick. But what I'm perceiving is what becomes my reality. We have already talked about it again and again. So if I see myself as unhealthy, I will begin to create a state of unhealthiness. Have you heard of what is called as self-fulfilling prophecy? For a long time, I thought that self-fulfilling prophecy is magical thinking. If you think negative, you attract negativity or negative outcomes. If you think positive, you attract positive outcomes. But what is it? What is the reason? What do you think? After a lot of thinking about it, I realize that the missing link is our behavior. If we think negative, we believe negative, we hold a negative conviction, if you will, then our behavior changes. Our behavior becomes negative. And so we create a new negative reality. Like for example, if somebody is driving and he has this belief, has this conviction that I'm going to end up with an accident. Or when somebody is climbing on a ladder, I'm going to fall. I'm going to fall. I'm going to fall. What happens? You're overcautious. And you end up with an accident. You fall down. You break your bones. Instead, if I hold that belief, that conviction that I'm going to be all right, you drive normally and you reach wherever you need to reach safely. So you see how our intentions, our beliefs, our convictions change our behavior and therefore our reality. So, what reality do you want now is the question. You want a good reality for yourself or you want a negative one? You want to see yourself totally healed physically, healed mentally, healed in relationships, healed spiritually. Now, when I say spiritually, I mean that you are able to experience your full potential, to be able to rise to the call of time and to the needs of others, to be able to serve meaningfully, to live a life of purpose. All of those things are important. It's not just the physical health, really. And especially, yes, if your physical health is not there, you won't be able to do any of the others. You won't be mentally happy. You won't be emotionally good in a stable state. You won't like to have relationships, and you won't be able to live a life of purpose. So all of these things you want, right? So see this as your reality. This is what I want. What do I have to do? That's the intention you have to create. And you have to believe it. You have to have a conviction. And that you can do when you're going into the quantum field. Quantum field of infinite possibilities. Yeah, on one hand is that totally negative state and less negative state, neutral state, little positive, totally positive. I hold that totally positive state as my intention, as my reality. And that reality is what would bubble up into my macro level, the physical level, and that will become my true reality. Yeah, it's making sense to you. I can see that. A little bit?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Like there's questions too.
Sure. No, so I'll stop here. I can go on and on this. So I'll stop here. And since you're right here, so I am happy to take your questions, and then I will also respond to these chat messages.
A number of questions, but just on that, what you were just saying there, because it sounds like, and I mean, it was amazing how you took it down that matter is all energies that are small particle, and, they're all entropy, are physical bodies, but you're saying that the physical body is still just energy to the smallest. So, on that premise though, and how your thoughts are the smallest unit and they control what happens, like, take an example for like the bodies. You just, they're like you think they're curious, like as far as earthly being that, they got to this level of thought. And yet, they still have their physical elements, or is it just the law of nature that, these physical bodies are
Right.
die, or how do you explain that type of,
I know probably her question is not audible, but I will repeat the question for everyone. Yes. So yeah, that's that. I get that question all the time. Like those so dadis and the Brahma Kumaris, but also the ancient yogis. Those people who have spent so much of time in meditation and pure consciousness and all of that, and yet they get sick. But that is your reality that they are sick, if that makes sense, right? That's our reality, not your, but I mean our reality. From their point of view, do you know whether they are really perceiving themselves as sick? See? Yeah, of course, your question can be answered from the level of the body. Yes, the consciousness still is clear and everything. The body has to deteriorate eventually, and something has to become the cause, whether it is diabetes or high blood pressure or heart attack or stroke, something has to kill us, right? I mean, the body has to wither away eventually. Eventually, this body will not last forever. Eventually, the body has to go through those laws, of matter. And so, and then the soul leaves one body and goes to the next, from a spiritual point of view. So something has to trigger that. So it could be cancer, it could be diabetes, it could be something. But really going back to your question and to answer from this quantum point of view, and so think of it from our point of view, the reality is, oh no, that person is suffering from cancer. But you ask that yogi, the yogi is like, I'm okay. I don't care. I'm not having any cancer or anything. So you see, even like, for example, there are so many people we know who have a problem with their knee. Then on the other hand, there are so many people who don't have problems with their knees, but yet they are not able to do as much as the people who are able to do with their bad knees. Yeah, you have this Mataji downstairs, Reena's mom. Yeah, she has such bad knees, and she's able to do much better and more work than people 1/4 her age, half her age. Why? Because somewhere what is happening is she's not perceiving her knees to be bad, and that's why she's able to achieve so much. You see, is it making sense? So what I'm trying to get at, in fact, there was another session that I had done to for people who have been long-term meditation practitioners like you all. And in that, you look at it as this one. Say in this way, say if there's a person standing here. Now, say, let's take an example. You look at this person as an angel. What a lovely person, amazing person, great qualities. Somehow, because of your mindset from the past, I'm just an example, but you look at this person as a crook, as a horrible person, as a fake person. Now, he's the same. He will start to behave as an angel with you, and he will start to behave as a crook with you. You see, so now your perceived reality became the actual reality for you. Your perceived reality became the actual reality for you. Who cares what the real reality is? In a way, he exists. In a way, each one of us exists in the quantum field as infinite possibilities. So I too, you too, exist as the most horrible crook versus the most angelic person in the quantum field.
Like,
Yeah, you're good.
one question I had was, you explained nicely, but how do you make your perceived reality into the practical reality? Like your thoughts, like you said, that has to go from, we all have negative in some ways, but how to make the negative positive, but then positive into practical and everyday life?
Right,
How do
right.
you get to that?
Right.
question?
So the question that the sister has is that how do you really make this perceived reality into a practical, actual reality? The thing is that we are doing it anyways, subconsciously and consciously. What you perceive as is on a regular basis, moment to moment basis, your actual reality. For some person, driving 20 miles is nothing. For another person, 20 miles is like 200, 2 million miles is like going to moon. Yeah. For so many people you hear, hey, would you come to the meditation center for meditation? Oh, I am 5 miles away. It's too far. Right? Yeah, it's like a million miles away. For somebody, it's 500 miles is nothing. All right, I'll come tomorrow. So you see, we are always creating our own actual reality based on perceived reality on a regular basis every moment. Now we have to consciously do it. In fact, what's happening is we are using this against ourselves all the time. Now we have to change it to use it in our favor to heal ourselves. We have so far used it to destroy our lives, destroy our health. Now is the time to take charge and use it to create a beautiful life for ourselves. You know? So going back just to that aspect of each one of us, you, exist as the worst crook on this planet and the most amazing angel in the quantum field. What, in a way, I choose to be is what I become for myself. But what you choose to see me as becomes the reality for you. Make sense? You can choose. What do you choose right now? It's up to you. It's based on how you have disciplined your mind. So I choose to see Shwetang as an angel. I will come across as an angel for you. I might help you. I might serve you. If you see me to be a crook, I might do something which is crooked. You see? Then it won't be my fault. Huh? It's all your fault. No, it's not. But anyways, going back to, okay, so there is, thank you very much. Now, how do we know which one is the truth? Is it whatever we perceive as a truth or the reality? In a way, like I said, quantum physics is explaining to us, there is no reality. There is no reality. All that you perceive is the reality. Who cares? As I went back to that, as I can take you back to that example of the Amazon forest tribes. Who cares? All right, yes, we can think of it from our point of view that there's global warming and then these bombs are being thrown and this is happening and that's happening and eventually there's deforestation, and because of the changing weather and environment and all of that, the trees are not going to grow well, the species are dying, and for them it doesn't matter. If they can't eat certain species of plants, they will go to the next. And if that too gets extinct, then they will die. But they don't care about global warming. They don't care about Ukraine and Russia and NATO and all of those things, or Wall Street stock market. For them, that is reality. And that's what it is. I can go into more examples. Let me give you a couple of more examples. There is a tribe in Africa that doesn't really have a name for the color blue. but they have many different names for the color green. Because if you look at it, in nature, there is very little blue. I know you will first thought, Dan, what is he saying? The sky is blue. Actually, sky is not blue, by the way. Do you know that? You Google it. If you don't believe me, you Google it. The sky is not blue. It appears to be blue because of the scattering of the rays. You see? And then similarly, the water is blue. Well, it is because of the reflection, but also it is blue because of the diffraction of the light. It is not. You take water, you just take water from any pond and put, is it blue? Okay, all right, the sky. Now, where does sky start? Here, right here, upward. You grab this. Is it blue? Is it blue? It's not blue. So there is really very little blue. So, but there is a lot of green, and green has many shades. So this guy, this anthropologist, went to Africa, and he took these different shades of green and boxes and everything. So in this one pattern, there is one box that is blue, and rest are the same shade of green. And then there was another pattern where there is one different, slightly different shade of green, and rest are the same shade of green. So these people of the African tribe, or Amazon tribe, I think it was, Amazon or African tribe, they were not able to see the blue. I think I have the picture. I don't know, I don't want to show this. Now we'll have to pull this down and all of those complications, but so they were not able to see the blue, which is so obvious. So there are 8 squares which are green and one is blue. They couldn't see it. But instead he put one square in the other pattern, slightly different shade of green, which I won't be able to perceive that difference. They were able to perceive it right away. You see? So reality exists here, not out there. So, okay.
What was the name of that experiment you were talking about with the vertical slits?
It's called as a double slit. Thomas Young was the American physicist who did this double slit experiment. Or you can Google it.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, you will enjoy it. And all of these things that I'm saying, to some extent, for some people, it might seem hypothetical, but, pardon me, it's so practical. It is so real. It's so life transforming. And I'm telling you with all humility, I have not been able to completely heal myself, but there have been so many instances of me being able to really heal. And this new reality has helped me in so many beautiful ways to enjoy a meaningful life, a more fulfilling experience to life. And so that's the reason why I'm sharing this.
Or is that just your reality?
That's probably my reality. Just all my reality. Yes, my perception. So true. So perhaps the truth is unknown, known only to the creative. We have our own mental models. That's our perceived versions of the truth. Absolutely. But at the same time, we are functioning based on our perceived reality, which we have made it into true reality. So why not fix our lives based on a new reality that you can create? Forever is truth. Things can change, but not destroyed is truth. Lightness and wave pattern is ready to accept for new knowledge and new things. Can you please repeat the questions asked in the room? Did I not repeat? I think I repeated the questions, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
you did.
Was that? Say again.
Yes, you
Yeah.
repeated the question.
Good. So the moral story is, what are we all seeking? Exactly. What are we seeking? What are you seeking? Do you want to be partly healthy? Partly healed? Do you want to be completely healed or partly healed? End of the story. What you want is what you get. What you ask is what shall be delivered to you. That's going to become your true reality. All right, the recording is on our Facebook. Yes.
We
That's
do
it.
have one more question that came in.
Okay.
And the question is, what is your advice for Red Bull energy drinks about new generation?
That's a little out of this this topic, but yes, I'm happy to answer. Um, any anything that artificially cranks up your energy is not going to be very long lasting. It's going to break your body down in some way or the other. So I think it's not good. She's asking about the Red Bull. Yeah, yeah, like coffee, like alcohol. It'll give you, it'll jack you up for a little bit. But anything, remember one thing: anything that increases your excitement level will eventually lead to a second phase of depression. And what we are realizing now is the phase of depression always overshoots. So, for example, you start off with this level. Now you say drink coffee, smoke cigarette, drink alcohol, Red Bull, all right, whatever it is. So your excitement for energy will go here. The next, it will go below, it will overshoot. So now what you will do is need another. What happens after 3 hours of drinking coffee? You want another coffee. But if you had not drunk coffee, you would have been in a better state now than 3 hours after drinking coffee. Yes. That's what we've seen. Everybody has seen. That's what I advise, not to drink Red Bull and all that. But yeah, that's a little besides the point. But anyways, what else? Yes.
Incredible. So you said if you're not happy, you cannot be healthy. I get that. But if you're always happy, can you still get sick? Or it's your reality? I get that part. It's
No,
reality,
yeah.
But can you be happy and still be sick and have a routine and all that kind of stuff?
Yes, so two things. One, am I consistently happy? You see? You see? So it's an on and off switch. So if I'm happy right now, I'm creating this positive energy within myself, positive chemicals getting secreted, my body is beginning to repair. The next moment, I get upset. Even if it's for a moment. But then in that moment, again, depending on the duration of the time I'm upset and the intensity of my upsetness, little bit upset for a long period of time or too much upset for a short period of time. See, those people who go into this fits of rage, throwing things around, see what kind of chemistry that gets created. We have now seen that when you look at the pH of these people, pH is the acidity level. So the blood becomes more acidic. In fact, inside the cell, individual cell, the pH becomes more acidic. It's almost like you're putting yourself in a barrel of sulfuric acid. As dramatic as that. Now you take this state. Do you remember when you were upset for many days? Good. It can't happen to me, right? But if you were, think of it, how many days you were soaking yourself in all that acid. Now we expect ourselves to be healthy. See, what happens is it takes time for this perceived reality shift to happen. For a long time, if I have seen myself as not healthy, my knee is bad, my this is bad, my life is bad, nobody loves me, nobody cares about me, this, that. What happens is, say today I say, all right, I'm going to shift. I start thinking positive. Now my body is good, I can do this, that. What happens? You will come back because you met me yesterday. You will see me as my previous year. So your energy that you are going to give me is going to be that negative one. And so I'll be reminded of that and I will try to slip into that negative state. Then I have to consciously say, no, I've got to get back here. So you see, for a very short period of time, really, practically, we are in that new consciousness, the positive consciousness, the healthy consciousness. So that's why we are not able to bring about the change we really want as quickly. It takes while. It takes conscious effort over a long period of time. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. This done? Yeah. Good. You want to say something?
Very nice, thank you.
I'm glad. I'm glad. If it can help heal anyone, then it would be good. I'll feel good that it helps because it has helped me, and I feel, many times I've taught Kanishta too. Kanishta initially, wife Kanishta, she didn't have, she was very scared of quantum physics, this whole concept. And then she started reading it herself, and then she really has gotten so hooked onto it herself. And so, like when we have just 15 minutes, and she's feeling very tired. Say if we were coming here to Cinnaminson Center, we were driving, and there was 15 minutes left, and she was feeling a little tired, and I said, okay, you sleep. And then I reminded her, just go into that quantum field of pure consciousness. Just go to sleep. And then you see yourself totally fresh. You see yourself totally healed in that state. And then 15 minutes later, she woke up and she was so fresh. So, you can use these in a very practical way to make yourself feel good and make yourself be good, be healthy, and have a meaningful experience to life. Yeah? So shall we do some meditation? Unless yes, Reena Ben, you want to say something?
Could I give you a comment?
Yes, no. No, I don't have to. I mean, from my point, actually, Sister Reena was asking, would you like it to be till 1 o'clock? I said, no, people might get bored and may want to go home. I know. So yeah, if you want to say something, please, by all means, Janice.
I have kind of a comment, like a little case study sort of thing.
Sure. If you have that, maybe shall we give her a mic, Sister Reena, because it might be difficult for me to repeat all of that. You
Yeah.
got to leave? All right, take care. Bye. Most welcome. Or go ahead, then I think I'll translate it for you. Or not, sorry, translate. I'll repeat it for you. Yeah, okay. Oh, you have. Are the cells dead?
No, it's good. She wants to talk?
No, not her. Her.
Okay.
That way, the people on Zoom will be able to hear you.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, when you were talking about the depression, and, you were kind of saying, the depression kind of dipped down from what the normal is. And then you were kind of comparing it to.
How?
Mute.
Mute. Okay. Yeah. All right. You speak like this, and I will repeat it for you. No, it's off. Yeah. Now you say what you're saying. So you're talking about the depression that it overshoots.
So, in, in the field of medicine, the hedonic homeostatic mechanism.
Right.
So if we use something that makes us feel better, if this is normal,
Right.
and then we use something that makes us feel better, like alcohol or
Right.
like you were saying, any substances that alter our mind. And then when we stop using it, we go down, but then we come back up to normal.
Right. Yes.
So with the disease of alcoholism, what happens is when people, or even any type of addiction, is when they initially use and come back up, it's to the same spot. But when the brain changes, the
True.
function and structure of the brain changes, every time that they come down, they go lower, and when they have to use to come up, they don't go up as far.
True.
And so eventually,
they can't even get back up to what their normal is.
Yeah,
And so there's a spiritual program that you can learn to change your perception.
true. Yeah,
So what you're saying about perception is typically someone that has addiction or alcoholism goes to a 12-step program, which is how to live a spiritual lifestyle
true,
and how to change your perception.
true.
Because, you know, like you mentioned, when certain people you talk about weren't feeling well,
True.
they're miserable, they're, you know,
Right.
just negative about everything and everybody, and they think people are talking about them and all that stuff. But when you go back into the spiritual way of living,
Exactly.
they get well, they become happy, they become joyous, they become free, and they don't have to pick up those substances anymore. It's not a pill.
Right, exactly.
So it's not a pill. It's
Right.
a spiritual way of living.
Right,
So,
yeah.
but I saw one man in this program who had stage 4 prostate cancer, and he just flew through his treatment, and his chances were very slim to the medical world. But he's alive, happy as a clam today.
Right,
He's just so happy to be
right.
in the spiritual realm.
Right, yeah. What Janice is saying that, spiritually, when we elevate ourselves, then we can fix ourselves from addictions too. And that's true, understanding this quantum physics model actually helps us in many different ways. One is, like you said, that we perceive everything to be negative, and that's why we become more amenable to addictions. But if we start seeing things as positive, then we won't need the need for alcohol and other substance abuse will not be there. We'll become free of it. But also, what quantum physics helps is, because see, what happens is it's not that easy to change, because like you also mentioned, eventually structural changes, anatomical changes begin to happen in the brain and all. It's not just a habit of the mind, it becomes a habit of the body. It becomes very difficult. So what we are realizing now is that from the quantum physics point of view, if I can go back into that quantum field of infinite possibilities and see myself as any of those possibilities. So I am an addict versus I'm a totally healed person. As if I was never an addict. Totally healed forever. Now, if I can focus on this reality, on this possibility, that becomes my perceived reality, and therefore that becomes my actual reality. That is what will start to bubble up into the macro level. That will become my reality, and I will become a totally healed person. So this is an amazing tool, almost like a shortcut method, a cheap method to heal yourself. And that's what Raj Yoga meditation, the Brahma Kumari's Raj Yoga meditation also talks about this. And that's why what I'm saying is really a blend of Raj Yoga meditation and quantum physics, is because in Raj Yoga meditation, we go into that soul conscious state. And what is that soul conscious state? It is this quantum state, where you are no longer a particle, you are a wave. You're no longer matter, you are pure energy. And as pure energy, you're infinite, you're unlimited, and you exist as infinite possibilities. The possibility you choose becomes your reality.
But I think that's why this, like the talk you just did, like breaking it down to the smallest particles, and that we are only energy, because it's hard for people to see these physical bodies as like we're energy, but we're spiritual beings having a human existence.
Thank you.
Experience.
Yeah.
But the way you break it down, like from the beginning, like making it where you take it from a physical body all
Right.
the way down, and you
Right.
energy.
Right. Yeah, what sister is saying is that, what she's commenting, that it really helped her that when I broke it down from that physical part or physical existence, all the way to molecules, to atoms, to really us as energy. Yeah, and so we are souls, we are spiritual beings, we are energy or consciousness having a human or physical experience. Totally agree with you. And so we should do some meditation to top it off, right? You're already late. And then Sister Rena has some announcements at the end. So I don't think there is any other. Why our head is leaned on the right side generally. I'm not really sure. Is that right? I'll have to research that. I respect that question, but I'm not sure whether the head really leans on the right side. Yeah, I'll probably research it and maybe next time I will share that answer with you. But anyway, so let's try to go into the quantum field. So as you sit on the chair that you're sitting on, try to go one step at a time into the micro level from the macro gross level, seeing yourself as a bag of bones, a bag of organs, a bag of tissues, a bag of cells, a bag of molecules, a bag of atoms, a bag of subatomic particles, and then simply as a bag of pure energy. And as soon as you do that, you find yourself at the center of the wheel. Totally connected to every other energy source on this planet. In fact, you realize that at the core of this wheel, at the core of your existence, there is a pool of infinite energy waiting for you to harness. This pool is connected to the energy of the entire universe and beyond. So you can heal yourself as much as you want in this field. Since this field is made up of energy, it can never be destroyed and is constant. So really all of the stress that you had at the macro level, at the physical level of your consciousness, is gone. No stress, then there is always healing. But now you realize that in this quantum field, there are infinite possibilities. Of existence. You exist in this quantum field as a totally healed person, physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. And you also exist at the opposite end of the spectrum as a totally diseased state, totally broken, falling apart physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. And then There are infinite possibilities in the spectrum between the two, all of which exist in this quantum field. What you choose from these infinite possibilities becomes your reality in the macro level. So go ahead, choose for yourself. I'm not going to make that decision for you. But I truly hope that you will make the decision, you will make the choice of a truly, totally healed state of being. Physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually. See yourself totally healthy. Running, jumping, doing all that you wanted to do for all times. Intellectually capable of doing whatever you wanted to do. Emotionally stable. Being able to make meaningful connections in the society. And then being able to live a meaningful life of service to others. And see all of these that you just saw, this whole new reality bubbling up into your physical world, your physical existence. You becoming totally healthy is now your new reality. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti, and thank you very much, Brother Shwetank. And we still have quite a lot who are still on the call, we're still on Zoom, which tells me that we would love to keep hearing you go on and on. Because for me personally, it gave me goosebumps that really it's in my hands what I want to be and what I want to do. And it's possible. It's all possible. Right? And I'm sure everyone is feeling the same. They're all walking out very enthusiastically, knowing that they can make a change in their lives as well. So thank you very much. Thank you to all those who've stayed this long. I know you've all enjoyed it, and I know that we would love to have you back again this year. And maybe if everyone else could join us, right? I know we had a couple of people here in the hall. Maybe later on we can open so everyone else can come as well.